And I'm following this all the way through. And then now the Museum of Science of Boston also has something called the Tower of Power. I also call it House of Cards. There's a number of different varieties of these found on how students can start to build. So we say, okay, so you've now figured out what a technology is. Let's give you a challenge. First, we're going to give you the materials. You're going to get index cards, and you can give them anywhere between 50 to 100 index cards, and just say, okay, you have index cards. And we're also going to give you a ruler, and we're going to give you some tape, and we're going to be very specific. We're going to give you the ruler just for measuring, so you cannot use this to help you build. You can't use it for the center of your structure. It's a tool. And also, we're going to give you tape, but we're only going to give you 1 foot of tape. Now, of course, you have your ruler, so you can actually measure out, or each of the teams can measure out 1 foot of tape. So you don't give them the entire tape roll. You have them tape out or measure out 1 foot of tape. Then you have their cards. So now you say, okay, here's the thing that we're going to try to accomplish. We have this right here, and you can build up a story on how valuable this is. You know, this is special water that they brought from the Alps in order to make sure and you want to put it on display. Or you can do all kinds of different things, that this water right here can't be dropped, or it's not water, it's a special thing that if it drops it'll explode. So we have to be able to suspend it off the table, from above the table, as high as we can. So we say, okay, so we want to make a very high tower just using index cards, 1 foot of tape. Very good. So you just give them the cards and you just let them do what they want. And they ask you all kinds of questions. They say, what do I do? How do I make it work? Can I rip it? Can I tear it? Can I chew it? Whatever you want to do. Sure, it's yours. It's your materials. However you want to use materials is perfectly fine and up to you. And then they'll start building. What your job is at this point is just to stay out of the way. Observe, walk around, and what you're looking for are the very important soft skills that people need in order to work together. Is someone sharing? And make sure they're working as teams too. I wouldn't go above 3 on a team. If you have to, you can go to 4, but no more than 4. I would stick to 3, and I would keep it around 3. If you have to do 2 because of numbers, that's understandable too, but not individually, and I wouldn't go above 3. So here we have your index card, and they normally start with this. They've heard somewhere along the line that the triangle is the strongest shape, and then they put their triangle on the table, and then it falls down. And what's amazing is you'll see the students continually fail, and you'll watch them do the same thing over and over and over again and fail. Your job is to let them. Do not get involved. Do not suggest anything. You can ask questions like, is that working? If it's not working, what else can you do? And they'll say, okay, I'll build another one. And they'll do exactly the same thing, and they'll keep building on top of it until this gigantic house that is like an accordion. As soon as you push on it, will go flat, right? And let them. However they want to do it, let them. If you see it tipping over, you see they do something completely ridiculous, let them. They're going to try as much as they can to get to the point where they try to put this on their tower. The questions you ask them don't have to be leading questions. Don't ask them like, well, what if you did this? What if? Don't ask those questions. Just ask them to observe as if you would. What's happening? Do you see what's happening there? When you push on it, where's the card go? And then let them start making those observations on their own. Never lead them in the right direction, and never tell them what to do. The second you touch it, you have stolen from them their right to fail. Right? So they should be allowed to fail, and they should. And then the second you touch it, it's no longer theirs. They feel like they don't. You know, you can have it if you're going to do it, right? So don't touch it. So, most importantly, at the very end of it, and you time it 18 minutes. They have 18 minutes to try and do the build and all this stuff. Then you take your cup and you put it on top, and whatever happens, happens. If it actually holds up, measure it. See how far it goes, right? And then you measure how far it goes, and then the tallest tower wins that one. The most important thing about Tower Power or House of Cards or whatever you want to call it is you ask them at the end, what did you do when you started? And they first started asking you questions. You say, okay, so you were asking me questions. What did you do after I answered your questions? And they would say, well, we started to build. Well, there was a lot that happened before you started to build. Before you started to build, you had to think about what you were going to build. And so you had to imagine what was going to happen next. And then after you imagined what was going to happen next, you had to plan. You had to pick one of those ideas and kind of go with it, right? And work with your partners and try and come up with one example. Once you came up with that plan, then you started to create. You started going, okay, let's make it work like this. And a lot of what you were doing was over and over creating the same thing and building on the same thing, making your tower. Then once you created, I saw a lot of you guys were pushing on it and testing it and trying to see if it was going to work. And what didn't work, you would change a little bit. So then you would test it and improve it, right? And then you would ask other questions. Well, that didn't work. Can I change this? Can I do this? And then you would keep going around. And what you just did, without even realizing it and doing it completely naturally, was the engineering design process. It's called the EDP. And so the whole point of Tower of Power isn't how high the tower is, isn't how successful they were. It was to show that they are naturally engineers, that they are naturally going to go through a process that is going to lead them to success if they go through different trials and errors, which we call iterations. And if they keep working at it, they're going to ask questions, they're going to imagine, they're going to plan, they're going to create, and they're going to improve, and they're going to keep going over and over again. And then we say, so now you guys are starting to act like engineers. Okay?